thank you for your work on this.
We concur with your sentiment, Councilmember Rao.
All right, seeing and hearing no further questions, I have some questions. The first one is, how much was this audit?
$75,000.
Okay. The next question is, you talked in this analysis that there were statements, that the P-card statements were not reviewed by a staff person regularly. And I guess I'll ask this of you, Madam City Manager, although I do want to be clear that this is a 25-month study and you were not here for the entire 25 months. Was this lack of reviewing statements regularly by staff an issue of turnover, or was it an issue that there was just no one that had been assigned to it?
It's actually both. You may all recall, before I got here, there was a woman that used to review the P cards. That's what I was told.
Oh, yes, yes.
Carrie. She left. Somebody replaced her. That person left. Devin? That person left. That person was not replaced. And that was, our, essentially, our responsibility was to get that replacement person, and that wasn't done.
So you talked about, you surveyed city managers and finance directors, and they recommended that elected officials don't have P cards. I mean, I think that's of course what they're going to say, because they are responsible for all those things. So anytime they can take work that is complicated and political off their plate, they're probably going to make that recommendation. However, you did also talk about concerns about using the P cards to purchase items that were seen as gifts or could be seen as gifts. We talked about book bag drives and food giveaways. In the other cities that you have worked in, how are those things handled, if not through a council member and their P card?
I can directly from my experience, we've done, I think I've done now close to 40 procurement reviews in 11 states, and this is the first time I've encountered this practice. So it is not typical in my experience, in my review, or I'm from California. The laws governing P-card usage in California are much stricter than they are here, and it's simply not a practice that would be allowable because it would constitute a gift of public funds. So we don't encounter it a lot, but we realize that in Georgia, there can be a four-pronged test applied to establish a primary public purpose to be able to do things like that. And that is something that the city attorney may wish to speak to, but that is a process going forward that might be a benefit to the city.
Okay, so I hear you saying that. My question isn't, well, I know in these other places, people are doing book bag drives and people are doing food giveaways. That happens everywhere around the country. I'm saying, how are other cities facilitating it? I understand they may not be doing it this way, but is there a way that you recommend that we could do that?
If my colleagues know of that, I don't work in that space. I do procurement reviews.
Yeah, Mayor, I can add a few thoughts here as well. So one example you can have is a more defined special events program that's owned by a specific department, say your public services or your Parks and Recreation department that has a slate of events. They have budgets for all of these events. Maybe a book bag drive or a similar type of program is a part of one of those events that you'd have, and then you still have multiple opportunities for how you go about purchasing the materials for each of those events. Do I have a blanket purchase order for some of those gifts? Is there isolated incidences when I'm using a purchase card for some of those events? So that just gives a little more color to how you can facilitate some of the events you're looking to do, rather than what is currently being done for the city of South Fulton.
But what I would add to that, thank you, Woody, what I would add to that is that what you won't see is spending large sums of money to give away items to members of the public, because it would constitute a gift of public funds. So there would have to be some other arrangement through a nonprofit agency, through some type of other agency that is able to do this stuff free from worry about potentially gifting public funds.
Right. You mentioned challenges with issues with us paying sales tax. I know that very often I've been in a situation where I've been in a store, I present the form, maybe they take the form, maybe they don't take the form, maybe the clerk doesn't know how to take off the sales tax. What would be your, I don't think that these charges are being made for a lack of trying, but what happens when you get pushback from these vendors about that?
Well, it's going to be something that the city will be challenged with. I think there definitely needs to be training and awareness that the city is exempt from the payment of sales tax. So training is going to be a big component. But my understanding is that the city is also already working with Truist Bank to get the words tax exempt embossed on P cards. And not only that, is to get your new P card, you're going to have to go through a justification process for getting the new P card and going to training for which, where that will be emphasized.
My request, I guess, Madam City Manager, would be like if we find ourselves at a point of sale or point of purchase, because sometimes you need the things like right away. There's people waiting for coffee with a cop or whatever. That there be a specific person that we can call that can liaise with whoever it is that we're talking to make sure that, they can say it maybe in a way that we cannot.
What we've done is, in some instances where it's unavoidable, you just have to pay the tax, we have worked with the vendor to get it refunded.
And then just the last question, there were questions about travel, and there is a debate about whether or not you need a P card to travel. I do think that there are things that come up like overweight baggage fees, in-flight Wi-Fi. These can be small things, or they can be big things, depending on like how overweight your bag is and how long the trip is. But you did have a recommendation in here with the police department about having a special card, I think, for training, because they had hundreds of thousands of dollars in training, and just having that on a special card. What would your thoughts be about having a special card just for travel for elected officials?
So just to clarify, Mayor, the notion of a P card for police and fire travel is something that the city is looking into, and it was part of their response to our recommendations. At the top level, we would recommend what we see as the most common model, especially for council member travel, is that there's a liaison, there's an aide in the office that has a card under their name and books the travel on behalf of the council member. That's the most, the most common model, and it's one that we would recommend. Could there be a card specific for travel? There could be, but I think our review was more general in nature and didn't dive into the actual travel policy. So to review that in greater detail, to have someone review that and then determine those types of options, it would require a little research.
That I guess would just be my recommendation. I wouldn't want any of us, the thing about policies is that in every organization, the people at the bottom levels may or may not know everything that the policymakers know. And then when you're on the other side of the counter, you only know the policy as it's being communicated by the person on that side of the counter, right? So if I get to a hotel, I wouldn't want any of us to get into a confrontation with a desk clerk who is demanding a card with our name on it, for incidental charges, or for someone to miss a flight because they're going back and forth with a clerk about a $250, or $200 overweight baggage charge, which is what they are on international flights, right? So you can pay the $200, or you can miss the flight and then pay $1,000 to get a new flight, right? So I wouldn't want anyone to be in those situations. So if there were a card that was specifically for travel, and that would be monitored probably as heavily as all these other cards, I think that would be just helpful. So those are my thoughts at this time. The chair recognizes Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks again for the presentation. Just want to revisit something that you said. Given that I'm in my first term here as council member, just a little over 3.5 years, you mentioned that this is not a term you use, but you alluded to it, that some of these issues that you're seeing are growing pains because of the age of our city. And it's, in my observation, both from the outside and now that I'm on the inside, that we basically are building as we go, right? And so I'm happy to hear and to see the recommendations that staff is put in place based on at least the actions the staff is putting in place based on your recommendations. But I also wanted to suggest that if we do some of the things that we're doing still, but also, because this is what I hear from you, this is what I'm hearing, or at least I'm interpreting, it's not so much sometimes the act, but it's because it's been done by the council members, right? In other words, you're not saying don't meet people's needs if someone needs some book bags because I can't afford to get book supplies. You're saying council members should not do that, and we should find ways of doing that through other departments. And I think you also mentioned nonprofits, which, by the way, I'm not even sure how we even engage with those. But that is something that I think I need to go back and clarify with staff, how we actually engage with nonprofits. But am I correct in saying that it is not so much what we do, but how we do it? Because I think what was happening, we were looking at two forms of paying for things, and one was just the P cards that we have. And you're saying, yes, that is okay, but it just shouldn't be done by us because it's not the usual thing.
In the most general sense, the response to that, Council Member Sebastian, is that council makes the policies, right? Council decides what the policies are, staff carries them out, right? So to the extent a council member might be making a purchase, an operational purchase, that would be contra to the way the system is supposed to work. So that's at the highest level. And then in looking at, you do budget for events. You budget for these events. You go through a process to do that. What the city attorney is saying is, based on the outside legal counsel opinion, is before any funds are spent by anybody at the city, that the four-pronged test should apply to make sure there's a primary public purpose. So under that rubric, yes, if you were going to have a book bag event, for example, you'd have to apply the test to make sure that it's met, the four-pronged test.
Thank you. Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you for the review, and thank you for the forensic audit review. I have been on this council for 8 years, and what I will tell you is that I do agree with the auditors, and some of the stuff is just blatant violation and people not wanting to follow the policy. And some of it, and to put in context, they did not say that that giving book bags were gifts to the public. What they said is that we need to make sure we justify the public good. For example, a lot of us have Title I schools in our districts. A lot of us have poverty issues in our district. So what was explained to us is not that we were giving book bags away that was wrong, that we need to make sure that we relate it to the public good. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Now, what was said is that there were 3 instances where travel by non-city employees was paid for with the mayor's P card, specifically 3 transactions for a trip to Bogota, Colombia, for a Penn State foreign exchange student, which was not approved. And
I'm sorry, I'm just going to stop you, Councilman Willis. I would love to talk about everything that happened in the mayor's forensic audit, but that is not the audit that we are discussing now. We are currently discussing the $75,000 audit of all 8 P cards. I'm sorry, not the mayor's P card, the other 7 council P cards over a 2-year period.
Your transactions were included in our 25-month analysis, but we didn't do what the forensic analysis did. We looked at transactions more generally.
so
I just want to make sure that we keep to the topic. I don't want us to jump ahead of your presentations.
I'm not jumping ahead of anything. This was included in the as he just stated, so I would like to retain
No,
my
it
time.
wasn't included in our report.
Yeah.
You said it was or it was
It
not?
was not.
It was not.
So you all are 2 separate, so they're coming up next. Is that what's gonna happen? Okay, because I just don't want, what residents don't like is that for us to sit and not take accountability. We were told what we need to do. We were told what we did wrong. We were told how we need to improve, and I think we should take our marching orders. But to sit here and just point out things without context, I just think it's wrong. And for example, everybody on this council the auditor did not say everybody on this council did not, was in violation of not turning in receipts. That would be Keosha Bell, that would be me, and several other council members. We were in compliant when in turning in our receipts. He did also say for those who did not turn in receipts that we can go back and to the merchant and get the receipts. So let's just make sure when we're pointing out things that we put clear context around it. Don't just point out things because those cameras are looking out, because trust me, when we get to this next report, there's going to be a lot of explaining that have to be done. Thank you. I yield.
Seeing and hearing no further comments, I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting. This was the special call meeting at 3 o'clock. The next audit will be at the 4 o'clock meeting. Go ahead.
I move to adjourn to the 3 o'clock special call meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Let's take this vote by show of hands.
Record that motion approved unanimously. We are adjourned at 6:30 p.m.
All right, Mr. Clerk, let's please sound the roll for the let me go ahead and call to order the 4 o'clock work session of City Council. We are a little bit behind schedule. We had an extra long executive session. Mr. Clerk, please sound the roll.
This roll call for the July 22nd work session. The Honorable Catherine F. Rao, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Here.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Here.
The Honorable J.C. Sebastian, District 4.
Here.
The Honorable Keosha B. Bell, District 5.
Present.
The Honorable Natasha Williams Brown, District 6. The Honorable Linda B. Pritchett, District 7.
Here.
And the Honorable Mayor Khalid.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, please sound the first item.
First item is the mayor's forensic audit. This will be presented by Baker Tilly.
Go ahead.
Sorry, good evening. My name is Chris Califatis. I'm a partner at Baker Tilly, and we were hired to conduct this forensic audit on the mayor's transactions. Going to try to take you through this very quickly since we're behind time. So before I turn it over to my colleague Randy, just want to give a quick executive summary. The purpose of this audit was to review the P card purchases of the mayor and to determine if the purchases were made for personal purposes or if there were other violations of state or city regulations or policies. We looked at over 700 different transactions that were made on the mayor's P card covering about a 2-year period that in total was about 109,000. The approach we took for this engagement, we looked at key documentation, policies, procedures, bank statements, receipts. We talked to the mayor as well as other persons that worked as part of the city of South Fulton, as well as vendors when also necessary. And then from that, we tried to look at various internal control gaps and also potential questionable purchases as well. The conclusions we had, we saw several violations of the travel and P card policies. We saw approvals that did not exist from the people that were required to do those approvals. There may have been some approvals by people within the city, but according to the policy, the folks that may have done those approvals weren't the required ones. We also saw $459 was paid to the mayor as a per diem for a trip, and that trip was later canceled. But according to the documentation that we saw, those funds were not repaid to the city. We saw payment for a flight by what appeared to be like an intern. So depending on if you classify that as a city employee or not, I guess that's up to the council to decide. We also saw some payments that are not allowed in accordance with policy, such as Cash App services, and again, more sales tax paid on Georgia purchases. We also saw countless other things that might not have been a direct violation of policy, but could be construed as potentially questionable if those were for city business or if those were personal, like in nature. It's just kind of hard to tell based on looking at the documentations and through the interviews that we conducted. And there's also other purchases that probably were made that should have had a department within the city more involved, such as IT for things like equipment or software, for example. And I'll turn it over to Randy to dive into this in a little more detail.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Randy Sherrod. I'm Senior Manager with Baker Tilly, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about these next few slides. Georgia Code Title 36, Local Government 36-80-24 is very specific as it relates to the use of a purchasing card by an elected official. Local elected officials shall be prohibited from the use of a government purchasing card unless the following requirements are met. Purchases must directly relate to the official's public duties. They must be in accordance with established policies and procedures. Documents related to such purchase must be available for public inspection. And the city's travel policy and P-card policy, there are multiple relevant sections that outline what is allowable as described in the subsequent slides. So the city's travel policy. Travel by an elected official shall be authorized by the city manager or city clerk. Travel out of state or if above $1,500 must be approved on a request for travel expenditure form. Travel must be authorized or the traveler will be held personally responsible for all non-authorized expenses. The city will pay for the economy basic class ticket. An upgraded class ticket may be requested and approved with proper documentation. Non-reimbursed expenses include expenses of other persons not directly employed with the city, except for authorized business meals with proper documentation, airline upgrades not approved in advance, and other items not clearly identified by policy. Okay, the city's P-card policy. The mayor is authorized to use a P card, but must follow the rules of Code 36-80-24 that I just went over. City officials and personnel may not use a purchase card for personal, non-business related expenses, cash app or similar money transfer services, sales tax, except where state law does not exempt those local governments, computer or technology equipment, software and licenses, entertainment unless it is approved in advance like a city-sponsored event, or food purchases with the public unless they are pre-approved. All right, so what we found. There were 20 trips totaling approximately $70,000, including trips outside the United States to Canada, South America, Africa, and Europe. There was no documented approval by the city manager or city clerk for any travel taken by the mayor. That was specifically required in the travel policy. Per diems were issued to the mayor in advance for about 75% of the trips, and he believed that this meant approval was obtained. Now, let me be clear. You have the request for travel expenses, and then you also have the processing the requisition in what's the system called Edmunds, which is where the per diems were approved. There were several city employees in the finance department and in the city as a whole, including the assistant city manager, we did see some approvals by them on those screens for the per diems. However, in no instance did we see the city manager or the city clerk approve any of those per diems. The city manager indicated that on other than one trip to Paris, she was not aware of the other trips in advance and did not approve them. There is no evidence that these trips were verbally discussed in advance between the mayor and the city manager or city clerk. We're not saying that verbal discussions didn't happen. We have not seen any documented evidence that they took place. $459, as Chris said earlier, was paid to the mayor as a per diem in November 2024 related to an Ethiopia trip that was later canceled. The only charges we saw in the transactions that we went through were for cancellation charges for the hotel. But it appears that the money was not repaid to the city. We have no documentation that shows that that per diem was repaid. The travel form was not completed for about 25% of the trips, and when it was submitted in the system, approval was not obtained by any city employee. So we have the travel request for travel expenditures form, and again, we saw the person that completed the form, but there was no approvals. 2 trips with no documented business purpose in Truist. Truist is very specific as to there's a field for business purpose, and on 2 of the trips we didn't see that. International travel for a non-city employee was paid for on the mayor's purchase card for a Penn State foreign exchange student who was an intern for a trip to Colombia for an awards banquet the mayor was invited to speak at. And to attend. Over 20 airline seat upgrades that were not pre-approved. In addition to the travel, we found other questionable purchases. Now, these may or may not violate policy, and some could be considered questionable just based on what the purchase was for, or if they were necessary for business, or if they were personal in nature. And examples are an ancestry linkage charge that the mayor had, charges for Apple Music and Sirius Radio, a banking service charge, car washes and supplies, numerous car washes, digital subscriptions to things like New York Times, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, electrical vehicle charging for the mayor's vehicle, office furniture including a desk that converts to a pool table that the mayor indicated would give the office a more modern feel. Other questionable purchases, we found that there was a drone and other IT equipment, software, or services were purchased, and the city's IT department, we feel like, should have been consulted for the majority of those, given that the amount of the purchases and what the purchase was for. It seems that they could have been funneled through the IT department. The mayor indicated that they were discussed with IT at times, but that they were not as responsive as they could have been. We found 10 purchases of food totaling over $2,600. There was no evidence indicating that these were pre-approved as required. However, documentation as to who received the food did exist, and these transactions appear to be for a business purpose. They just weren't approved according to policy. Prohibited payments per policy were made for cash app services, and sales tax was paid on numerous times for purchases paid in the state of Georgia. These are in the report. There's a list of the dollar amounts and some of the categories that I've already gone over. Some recommendations we're making, they're very similar to the one that Pete went through. Also, other recommendations based on a detailed analysis of the mayor's transactions include the need to reinforce requirements that the request for travel expenditures form should be completed in advance to authorize travel. Every single time it should be completed. Not just the form be turned in with who actually completed the form, but who approved it. And for elected officials, that has to be the city manager or the city clerk. Reinforce and or update the P-card policies to clarify that IT equipment, software, and related purchases should be handled by those departments in coordination with the finance department. And those are the recommendations. Chris and I would be glad to take any questions that you may have.
All right, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Willis.
What it said is already, I don't have to, but I do have one question. For the money that was not returned for canceled trips that you sought per diems for, that an auditor is saying the money was not returned, what happened to the money?
Is that your only question?
Let me just clarify, that was for one trip.
Do you, what was the call? How much was that?
$459.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there were 3 instances where travel non-city employees was paid for Mayor's P card, specifically 3 transactions for Bogota, Colombia, for a Penn State foreign exchange student, which was not approved. And that was for the amount of, let's see. I see 2 amounts, $2,786 and one for $594. And then we have some IT stuff, ancestry linkage, the Apple Music. So in your professional opinion, I don't want to prolong this because there's a lot of stuff that that was flagged for any money that should not have been, like for the reimbursement for, if we didn't get our money back for the per diem once the trip was canceled, for the trips that was paid for non-employees. What have you seen cities do? Have they made the elected official pay those expenses back? Or what happens? What's the repercussions, I guess?
Well, historically, yes, if people incur a per diem in advance and the trip is canceled, the expectation that those funds would end up getting reimbursed, back to the organization. I think a lot of these other things that you've mentioned, there's a lot of ways of handling things. I think at some point it comes down to what management's appetite is, and our job is to report the facts of what we saw.
Right.
I'm not going to suggest something needs to be handled a certain way.
Right.
So I think it's best if y'all discuss that and decide how you'd like to handle these things. And the question about the 459, what happened to it, I don't know, was that a question for us, or was that a question to the mayor, or?
Well, you said you interviewed the mayor.
Right.
So
Well,
did you ask him that question?
That came up after the fact. We just got documentation recently on that, so we didn't, at the time we interviewed the mayor, we did not have the information as to whether it was paid back or not. We just recently found out that according to the city records, it did not appear to have been paid back. But we have yet had a chance to discuss that with the mayor.
So I would ask Ms. Subadad, do you have any knowledge of that being paid back?
Not to my knowledge, but I haven't investigated it. I believe they asked for finance for any records, and there were none that they could find.
We do know that it was broken into two payments, it appeared, $200 and then $259.
The other thing I want to ask, for the non-city employee, tax funds was paid for the Columbia trip. So I know I'm not asking for recommendations, but would it be reasonable if the city decided they wanted to request for those funds back?
Well, let me just also say that that person they appear to be an intern. And so we're not sure if the city considers an intern to be a full-time employee. We don't, but that would be.
We don't consider an intern to be a full-time employee.
Okay.
So let me, on the other question, in terms of what would happen, again, I think it comes back to what your policy is and what actions you choose to take or not take according to the policy. That expense would not be something that should have happened unless it was pre-approved in advance, which it wasn't, but whatever y'all decide is certainly up to y'all as opposed to us.
Typically, we have a budget and travel for us. For our CSRs, they have a budget and for training and travel under the clerk. And that's how that is handled. So what is paid for out of our budget is supposed to be for our travel and training. There was also mention of and I'll let this be the last thing because I know we need to move on. There was also mention of an awards, a party or something being paid for over in Ghana. Can you expound on that? It was an award ceremony or something. It was.
I mean, we have that in the notes, but like details, again, some of these trips that were taken, it's up to y'all to determine, do you think these things are reasonable or not? And what return on investment does that bring to the city? That's up to y'all, just like any expense that the city incurs. I think the city should stand by the funds that were used for these, and that's a decision that's up to y'all to make. I'm sure the mayor may have a comment on the business purpose in his eyes about that trip and some other trips as well.
Do you have the date you're referring to on that trip?
I just remember you all mentioned it. Hold on a second. I won't prolong it because I know, and these reports are subject to. I'll get the city manager and my colleagues on it. Some of the stuff, we didn't have policies in place, and some, but not all, not most of the stuff. Most of the stuff was not justified. But we will, I guess, convene and figure out how much needs to be paid back and how much needs to be, or what the next steps are. That's all I can say. Thank you. I appreciate you. This is what the residents asked for. We did what the residents asked for, and I think that this is a very thorough report. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Any other questions for us?
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gomes.
Okay, and I just want to make, just so I have this all together. So there was a comment that was made in the report that said there were trips listed in the table had 411 individual transactions. What I have in front of me is 20 trips overseas and in the U.S., totaling about $70K for travel and about $9,000 in per diem. What are the 411 individual transactions? Can you?
Well, those
expound on
trips
that?
had numerous individual transactions. So if you add all them up, that's how we got to there would be international service fee that would be, some trips had about 6 or 7 of those. So
those 400 individual transactions are included in the totals on these trips that I'm seeing in this spreadsheet?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the total that we have here of showing that the travel spending was about 70,000 and per diem was about 9,000 within a 25-month period.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and bring up this click share. I have a screen to share. So it's red here, and I have the presentation up on my screen. If I will wait for someone in the control room to put it up on the screen so that people can see it. It will. It starts with the South Fulton logo. Okay, good. We got it up. Thanks. First, I really want to apologize to the citizens that we are here doing this. I think that there was a more constructive way that we could have done this. We started talking about this at a retreat, but it's an election year, so people decided to do this. First, how much was this forensic audit?
I believe our billing through the end of June was 55,000 and does not incur time spent for July, which is not a lot other than working on the presentation and being here today.
Okay, so it's 55,000 and counting for one forensic audit. I just want to.
Correct, Mayor.
All right, so.
And I will add too that sometimes these things cost over $1 million for cities, just to be clear.
Got you. So I want to address a couple of things that were discussed. There were so many allegations that were made, and I think that Councilman Willis is exactly right that we shouldn't make allegations without context. But this entire thing was done without a conversation with me. So I will try again to have this conversation now. You may recall in January and February and March, I tried to have this conversation before we started spending $120,000, but here we are. The first, I just want you to see, this is an email from my film and media manager. You will see a host of people from the head of facilities to the second in command for IT, to assistants in finance and the city manager. All of our equipment purchases were made consistently, being in communication with multiple members of the city staff. You talked about the drone. I think it's important to know that drone we used for Christmas, for Southside Day, and obviously to promote our new hotels here in the city of South Fulton and Wolf Creek. Pretty much all the drone footage that you've seen of Wolf Creek, including what we now have on our Convention and Visitors Bureau website that the media manager has made to promote film in South Fulton, all of that was shot with the drone. So that's what the drone was for. There was conversation about a non-employee, and again, I think context is important. There was no policy in place about that. This was Jefferson Tenario. He worked for 6 months, 40 hours a week as an intern. He did receive a paycheck from the city of South Fulton every 2 weeks. So I just want to be clear that it wasn't like I just randomly, paid for someone to do a trip. This is someone who had been doing work on us. He organized multiple trips, not just my trip, but also Councilwoman Bell, your trip. He served as a translator. He organized security. Some of you may know that Columbia is not the safest place to travel around. And he also coordinated the trips while being a graduate student at Penn State University and traveling between Penn State, Washington, D.C., and Columbia as we were promoting the city of South Fulton. You've all seen these videos of me traveling across the globe promoting the city. There were 2 years. We also did do this decoration of the mayor's office. We wanted to create an office that was modern. We wanted to create an office, a lot of the equipment that we used in the office, which we actually did have sponsors at a time to pay for before all of this scandal. Much of the equipment in the office, we had checks ready on deck, right? Some of them were actually removed from removed from council meetings. We had sponsors ready to pay for that equipment. I do want to show you one of a series of videos that we made in the office. We actually brought this to the State of the City address.
Hi, my name is Drew DeMann, and I've been living in South Fulton for 7 years.
I've been in South Fulton for about 15 years.
I'm Mike Johnson. Live out here in South Fulton, raised my family out here in South Fulton.
What I love about South Fulton is
I've had an opportunity to raise my family here. The schools are great.
I also love South Fulton because it's essential to the airport, which I fly often. I love that they invest in our street. They invest in here, so the money is here. Crime to me is low. I feel safe. I feel just very comfortable.
A future city with all kinds of green potential. They call Atlanta City the forest, but we really have it down here.
There is a lot of untapped resources out here.
Residents are very engaged, and we're working to create a new city that we could be proud of.
South Fulton forever.
So there were, I want you to know that the money that was spent in the office was actually spent on the citizens of South Fulton. That is a part of a campaign that we are ready to roll out. Now, about the $259, one of the things that you did mention was that I did not receive per diem for all of my trips. Right. And that is because when a trip was canceled, because I want to be clear, this job only pays me $40,000 a year, and it's my only job. I'm never leaving the country without a per diem check. So in the instances where per diem was not repaid, I think that you'll find that a survey of all of the per diem sheets will show that the per diem that I received for the following trip to Colombia was minus $459, or the following trip to Ghana was minus $459, because we just didn't ask for per diem for the times when we had just received per diem for a trip that wasn't taken. But I would be happy to repay back. If in your survey of that you find that that's not the case, I would be happy to pay back any of that money. The last thing that I do just want to mention, because I am a little over time, is that there's a lot to talk about in this report because it was a forensic audit. But the overview audit of all of the P cards did show permissive, and I'm quoting from your report, permissive use of purchasing cards for food, travel, and other purchases without appropriate authorization or oversight, 287 instances of missing receipts totaling over $68,000, continued use of the P card after employee termination dates. So these are things that are not in my P card report. Now, a petty person would say, we need to do a $55,000 audit of each of the 7 council people, but I'm not petty. And no, first of all, I'm not petty. And B, that, and I do have the floor. So I'm going to ask for a quorum. A, I'm not petty. B, that would be another $300,000. We have enough information here. The changes are being made. And there is a context for all of the expenses that you see. We could continue wasting taxpayers' money, pointing fingers at one another because it's an election year, or we can just accept the analysis and recommendations that you have, try to come to reasonable accommodations for the instances where violations happened or occurred across all of these cards, and just move forward as a city. I would like to not waste any more money on information that we knew at the January retreat. With that, the chair recognizes Dr. Rao.
As the governing body of this city, we set the tone. You are the mayor of this city. We can put PowerPoints up, we can do presentations, but at some point, we have to take responsibility. The public deserves that. The reason we did this, we got numerous people coming to council meeting asking us to look at this. So to make it about, and I'm not on the ballot, to make it about elections is crazy because our constituents asked us to look at this. I listened to that presentation. We have a whole communications department. I don't think you've used them the whole time you've been in office for the 4 years. If so, we probably wouldn't have been on the news constantly. This is not a witch hunt about interns. They didn't know. But we do have policies and procedures. And so we're all responsible for following those policies and procedures. It's really just that simple. And I just want us to just have an honest conversation. Yeah, we've put changes in place as we found out areas that need to be improved, but we can't keep saying we're, a young city and, things are really, that's not acceptable. And so as the mayor of this city, I would hope you would take responsibility. We're going to fix it either way. We're fixing it now. We've been doing that. And I want to thank the staff for the work you've done, getting our audits up to date. Probably if we had all that information, we wouldn't be here because we'd have seen it before now. But we understand. And we're not going to be in this place anymore. But take some responsibility. And that concludes my comments.
The chair recognizes Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ditto to what my colleague from the first district just said. I am disappointed. It is an election year for me. But honestly, this is the last thing I want to be dealing with, right? I want to deal with how we're going to continue to move this city forward and build on what we have, the foundation that have been laid for 8 years. That's what I really want to concentrate on. I'm disappointed because we knew some of the anomalies that happened. So things like talking about employees using cards after they would have been dismissed. There's a logical explanation for those things. And Mayor, you know that, but yet you're going to sit up here and you're going to throw that red meat out into the public because it sounds good, okay? If anybody knows how financial cards work, if I make a charge today, it may not appear on my report until 2-3 days from now, right? But tomorrow it could be fired. So it can look as if date-wise the thing was done after I was fired, but in reality it was not. And Mr. Mayor, I'm very, very disappointed with this. We keep hearing these folks in these things talk about operations and trying to get us more out of operations, regardless of what the things are, and over into staff. And that's a work in progress. But for you to sit here and say that you bought the drone and make drones so that you could put stuff on the Visitors and Convention Bureau's website without, did you talk to the staff about it? Were people aware that that was being done before the fact? If we have travel that's coming up to talk about things that we need to do as a government, the 7 other people who sit up here with us, or the 6 others, we're the ones that make the vote and create the policy of how we're going to approach things. Was that discussed with this group? Did this group come up with a policy and say, you know what, we're going to travel to Colombia, we're going to travel to Africa because this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be the return on the investment for the city? Back in 2024, I was the mayor pro tem for this city, and I found out about all of this through social media and when a citizen emailed me and said, "You're the mayor pro tem. You must know that the mayor is in Africa." And I said, "No, ma'am. He's not responsible for reporting to me." So again, when we talk about all of these things now in hindsight, as if they're really justified, as Councilmember Rowland said, just take some responsibility and accept it. And I hate to feel as if I'm beating up on you, but you're not giving a true unrealistic picture, in my mind, of what is happening. Because what we're seeing on paper through this audit is not supportive of what you're saying. Even if you wanted to do those things, we have a council, we could discuss them as a council, we could say, good idea, great idea, hey, go for it. Do you need money? How much money are we gonna budget for this? None of that took place. And now we are talking about after the fact that some operational things were done and put on the website because that's what you're doing. Now, come on, man, we're not kids, we're not blind, we're not stupid, right? So stop it. It's an election year, and those of us who are running for election don't want to be dealing with this. We want to go out and engage with our citizens and talk to them about how we're going to continue to move this city forward. That have made a lot of strides in the last 3-4 years. But you know what? It's getting distracted by all of this stuff here that's happening, right? How about let us continue to talk about the $113 million that we just agreed to spend on 2 major buildings within this city. How about let us continue to have the discussion around the $150 million worth of construction projects that are in the field in this great city of ours. So come on now. Again, you're on your way out the door because you decided you're not going to run for re-election. I'm not going to go to any revenge tour with you, and I'm not going to put up for a revenge tour with you. Because I sit here a lot of times and I let certain things pass, but this one here, I cannot let it pass. Because again, when we were creating this city, some people said we were doing it so that we could line our own pockets. And when I see those discussions out there all the time, I'm like, maybe y'all need to tell me where the money's going, because I certainly not getting none. Okay, I work with me and my wife, and we provide for us and our household. Okay, and quite frankly, sometimes we use some of that money to give back to people in the community that are less fortunate. So let's make the problem, right? There were some issues with what happened in 2024, and those things were generated by you, Mr. Mayor. So stop roping the rest of us in it, because when those citizens out there come and say, what are y'all doing? Y'all need to look into this. We have a responsibility to do this. And that's all I'm going to say right now.
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Willis.
Mayor, I just really think you're not walking in your purpose and you miss your calling. Because everything that you do is almost about entertainment. If you wanted to be the public affairs director, you probably shouldn't have run for mayor. You should have applied for the public affairs job. Because you like to shoot videos, you like to entertain, but that's not your job. That's the city manager job to hire people to do those things. If you love South Fulton, give us our money back. That's just the bottom line. You know, you sat here and talked about the missing receipts, the over 200 missing receipts. When you know that where those missing receipts came from, it came from 2 districts. Only 2 districts. And it wasn't District 3 or 1. I'll let everybody speak for themselves. There are people that have already submitted open record requests for these audit reports. And once these audit reports hit the street, then the narrative is not going to be we are a city on the rise. The narrative is going to be that we are here stealing money from residents. And that's a shame. I want to commend the staff. I want to commend my colleagues who are up for election this year, because not any of them said they didn't want this investigation to happen. Not any of them. They championed this investigation. They wanted the truth. And then a lot of times when you have an election year, people want to avoid things like this coming out. All I ask is that you stop deflecting. You stop blaming other people for things that you have done. Now, our HR policy clearly says that that interns are not full-time employees. Our HR, that's a policy, that they don't get the same benefits full-time employees get. We're not blaming the intern, we're blaming you. Because that intern didn't swipe the P card. That intern didn't pay for the travel. Give us our money back. That's all I ask you to do. Take accountability. Say, I'm sorry. When you ran for office, you said you would never lie to us. You would never steal. You blamed everybody for being dishonest. You even tried to remove me because you said I was dishonest. That's not what the investigation reflected. But the investigation reflects that you're dishonest. And you should give us our money back. Nobody up here is up for a witch hunt. This started from a resident who did an open record request and put information out showing that you had over 100 missing receipts, that you went over to Ghana, you went to Paris, you went to Colombia, you did all of these trips. A resident did an open record request and put this information out. And that is why we had to do this audit. It didn't come from anybody up here. So residents, stop the narrative that we have a witch hunt for this man, because we didn't do this. There's other stuff going on in the city that we try to handle behind closed doors that we haven't dropped the grenade on. So if that was the case, we'd have a witch hunt for several other people. It was a resident who initiated this from an open record request. And it was residents who requested for this forensic audit to be done, for this operation audit to be done. And we delivered to residents, and these are the results. And we're not going to be here again. We were elected to be policy makers. We were elected to be fiscally responsible. And man, you're going to pay us our money back. Because just like child support, it'll follow you forever. These garnishments going to follow you forever too, when legally done. So I ask that you get with the city manager. The city manager, I'm asking you to go through this, make a recommendation on what needs to be paid back. The auditors gave you a roadmap, and I'm asking you, don't make us have to go through a legal process to garnish you. Just go ahead and set up a payment plan with the finance team and pay us our money back. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to respond to several of the things that I just heard. First, I do not have a problem taking accountability. I believe that I began my presentation with an apology. I am just asking to be treated no different than anyone else up here. I'm confused as to why my explanations are called excuses, but other people's explanations are called explanations. $68,000 in missing receipts, that's not me, right? So again, people are, this is what happens. Whenever I'm respectful, but whenever I talk, I'm met with disrespect. So the next thing is we talked about this being driven by residents. January 6, 2022, I stood on those steps and several residents asked for a forensic audit of all of our contracts, beginning with our public works contracts, were never done. And I believe those same residents are still asking for a forensic audit. So if we are granting forensic audits at the request of residents, let's grant all the forensic audits at the request of residents. That's Dr. Rao, I'm disappointed that you would make an allegation that I haven't reached out to the communications department. First of all, I want to be clear. The charter actually says that the mayor is the communicator for the city of South Fulton. That's what it says. It is the spokesperson for the city of South Fulton. And just as we have several emails showing that we went through IT for our IT purchases, we have just as many emails showing that we went through communications. So anyone that does an open records request, please make sure that you ask for all of the emails from the mayor's office, the chief of staff, and the media manager to the city manager, to the finance manager, to the communications office, and to the economic development office, because we were in constant communication. Again, I'm not trying to defend anything. I'm explaining everything. There are more explanations on kobecares.com/travel. I have explained my travel in detail more than anyone up here, and I will continue to do that. And if I am legally responsible to pay back money, I will pay back the money. I just want to be sure that the standard that is being set for me is being set for everyone. And I can tell you right now, between these two audits, they're not. Because only one person had a forensic audit. Only one department in this entire $260 million city has ever undergone a forensic audit, and it's the mayor's office. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Williams-Brown.
That's broke. You know, I really wish that we would not do these types of things in public on camera. This doesn't help us move forward in a constructive way. We spend, and by we, I mean all of us, elected officials, employees of the city, residents of the city, we spend a lot of time going back and forth, attacking each other over this, that, what we think we know, what we believe we know, what our opinions are about things that are happening. And none of that is constructive or helps us build a city when we are fighting. Because I see 3 news cameras, and I am confident that social media is going to be ablaze in the next couple of hours, with residents going back and forth with each other on social media, attacking us as a collective, the council, because it's always the council, it's never individual people. We have got to find a better way to problem solve that does not include creating a public spectacle and fighting in public. These things that are in this audit, some of them have already been addressed by the city manager and her staff, and that's been completely glossed over. We've put policies in place to address some of the things that have been recommended, and that has been completely glossed over. Because we are so busy spoiling for the fight that we cannot get to the solution. It is now 7:20. We are in the 4 o'clock meeting on item A. No, the forensic audit is part of the work session. We are in work session item A at 7:20. We still have alcohol and zoning to go. We still have work session to go. We still probably have another executive session to go. And none of what we are discussing right now can be solved right now. I would simply ask that we take a step back, let's move on with the agenda because we got a lot of work to do and a long night ahead of us. And we take the rest up when cooler heads can prevail. And having said that, Mayor, I call for the orders of the day.
Thank you, Councilwoman Williams-Brown.
Point of order.
The chair, are we in the middle of a motion? Is the call for the orders of the day a motion?
The reason I'm calling for point of order because that's not the proper motion to move the meeting along. But the attorney can explain.
Go ahead, madam.
So calling for the question of the day actually calls for the actual, to go back to the agenda item that we're supposed to be on, which, as Councilwoman mentioned, is supposed to be the work session for the audit. And so what occurs is we go back to make sure we're still on target for that subject matter. If we are, then we can continue the discussion. If we're not, then it's the chair's responsibility to get us back on topic.
I will accept that responsibility. I think we have exhausted this topic. I agree with everything you said, Councilwoman Williams-Brown. Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Yes, sir. That brings us to the presentation of the Rise Employee of the Month Award. Madam City Manager.
At this point, I released the staff so that they could go home to be with their families, and we will pick up the Rise Award at our next meeting.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. I'm
I'd like
sorry,
to make-
Mr. Clerk, that was the last item. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, let's take this vote by a show of hands.
Court, that motion approved unanimously. We are adjourned at 7:23 p.m.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the 5 o'clock special called zoning hearing. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Williams-Brown for, let me do this first. Mr. Clerk, can we go ahead and just call the roll?
Well,
Steve Rowe.
Sorry, there's been a request for a break. 5 minutes until 7:30? Long enough to go to the bathroom. Can we just do that? Do I need to do a whole motion recall? Like what, can we just do that? Okay, all right, we're gonna be on break until 7:30. We'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Roll call.
Yeah, we took a break.
He just called the meeting to order.
need
We
to
didn't do the
start?
roll call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started.
It's a roll call for the 5 p.m. alcohol zoning public hearing, July 22nd. The Honorable Catherine F. Ryle, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Here.
The Honorable Natasha Williams Brown, District 6. The Honorable Linda B. Pritchett, District 7.
Here.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And everyone, welcome to our 5 o'clock. Welcome to our 5 o'clock alcohol license and zoning public hearings special meeting. That's what it says on the paper. But nonetheless, Mr. Clerk, if you would read read the first item.
Yes, ma'am. Before I get to the first item, I did hand out a memorandum regarding 2 items that the Community Development and Regulatory Affairs advertised but needed to be heard this evening. That is KZ 25-020 and KZ 25-001. We would like to have the council's approval to add those to today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to add this item to the agenda.
Moved and properly with a second. Is there any discussion? Being none, can we take this vote by a show of hands?
Record that motion approved 4-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, if you'll go over our rules for our alcohol and zoning public hearing.
Yes, so the rules for alcohol zoning and public hearings are each side gets 10 minutes apiece. You are required to state your name, address, and district that you reside in. And that is cumulative 10 minutes for the entire group, for and against.
Okay, and can we have, let's see, first item A, letter A, I believe?
Yes, ma'am. Under Roman numeral 3, we have deferrals. We have a number of deferrals, and actually, Ms. McClendon has indicated items A and D are seeking withdrawal, and items B and C are seeking deferrals to later dates.
Okay, so just, we have a question here. Okay. You're trying to make a motion. Okay, so if we can, just to not be confused, if we can take these one at a time, is that okay? We can take it 2 by 2? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I move to defer items B and C as per the recommendation from CDRA. These were the deferrals, B and C. A and, I believe, haven't done A and D.
Second. Properly moved with a second. We can take this, is there any discussion?
I would just like to say, for the record, item B is deferred to the August 26th zoning public hearing, and item C is deferred to the September 9th zoning public hearing.
Okay, we have that for the record, and our mayor's back, but can we take this vote by a show of hands?
Record that motion approved 4-0.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Clerk will tell you.
All right, please sound the next item, Mr. Clerk.
So, Mr. Mayor, items under deferrals, item A and D are requesting withdrawal, so council just needs to vote to accept the withdrawal.
The chair will entertain a motion to accept the withdrawals for items A and D.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, let's take this vote by a show of hands.
Record that motion approved 4-0.
All right, please sound the next item.
Next items are for presentation and public hearing. First case is case TA-25-002, a text amendment by the City of South Fulton to allow assembly banquet halls or event centers with or without catering on site as an accessory use at golf courses with or without a country club. This is citywide. The Planning Commission recommended approval.
All right, do we have a presentation from CDRE?
Mayor,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
if I
Madam
may,
Attorney.
just a point of information, I just want to make sure, and I don't mind reiterating this during the public comment section of the agenda, that any public comments that are related to a zoning issue, those public comments need to be made during this portion of our agenda. They should not be made during public comment, as that would give someone for or against an unfair advantage as far as timing. So if there's a public comment or comment that needs to be made regarding a zoning issue, that should be made during the zoning hearing.
Okay, everyone got that? All right. I do just have a follow-up question about that. What about zoning comments for items that are up for vote that are not on this session, but they're on the 7 o'clock session?
Then those comments should have been made during the public hearing when it was up for a public hearing.
Got you. So none. All right, got it. All right. Attorney McClendon, are you? Okay, Attorney McClendon, and I do think we need some assistance up here. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Reggie McClendon, Managing Director of the Business Friendly Community Development and Regulatory Affairs Department. This is a text amendment to include event centers as an allowable accessory use at golf clubs with or without country clubs. This will be on for final, for a second read at tonight's 7 o'clock meeting.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for this. Mr. Clerk, are there any speakers for or against?
No, sir, we did not receive any comment cards in support or opposition.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up to council questions and comments. Mayor Pro Tem Pritchett, are you in the queue for this? All right, go ahead.
Okay, so, I guess I'm trying to understand, this is supposed to be, I'm really trying to, I guess I did not understand the gist of what this is trying to do, Mr. McClendon. If you could summarize it or make it make sense for me, please.
Yeah, so the event centers, what we would typically think of as an event center, is not currently an allowable accessory use at a golf course. Golf courses can have a country club. Traditionally, a country club is strictly for members of that golf club. And so if a golf course wanted to have an event center that was open to members of the public to come out and have weddings or have other types of events, that they could rent out that facility to non-members, then we would have to make this change to our code. And so this was sponsored by the council member of District 2 in order to allow for us to allow that.
Currently, how many golf courses do we have in our city? Do you know?
I think we have two, Wolf Creek and the Piedmont Driving Club. There might be others that I'm not aware of, but at least two.
Okay, thank you. Are you?
This item is up for vote.
Yes, actually, it was first read a couple months ago.
Right.
And it was held to the public hearing, and it was added to the 7 o'clock for action.
Okay, so we'll be voting for it in
This
the
evening,
next
yes.
hour or so. All right, Mr. Clerk, please on the next item.
Next case is case B, case M25-001, a request to modify zoning petition Z24-003 to reduce 3 lots to 2 lots in the R2 Single Family Dwelling District. It's located at 3260 Enon Road. This property is located in Council District 2.
All right, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. We have no comments from staff. Mr. Clerk, are there any speakers for or against?
No, sir, there were no comment cards submitted in support or opposition to this case.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and begin our questions and comments, as is always our practice with the district representative, Councilwoman Gomes.
This is just a small modification to, I guess, coincide with the other homes that are being built in that particular area. So I think the first initial home was 2 lots that were put together, but they have since sold the additional lot to allow for another home to be built. So that's what this is about. And hopefully you all will support it.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is case M25-002. Request to modify zoning petition Z24-020 to reduce the minimum heated floor to 1,300 square feet in the TR Townhouse Residential. It's located at 0 Welcome All Road. This property is located in Council District 3.
All right, Attorney.
Thank you. I'll start by saying staff recommendation is approval. This was and I'll also remind you that this is a modification, and modifications do not have recommendations from the Planning Commission. This development was approved in October for 92 townhomes. As part of that approval, a site plan was approved that did have minimum square footages for those townhomes. I believe the plan was to build 2 sizes of townhomes in this community. The minimum square footage for the larger townhomes being 2,040 square feet, the minimum square footage for the smaller ones being 1,815 square feet. And thus there was a conditional minimum square footage in that zoning approval. This is a request to lower that square footage from 1,815 square feet to 1,300 square feet.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Clerk, are there any speakers for or against?
We did receive 1 card in support from Gregory Wynn. Yes.
All right, and is the applicant here? You are the applicant?
Yes, sir.
All right, you have 10 minutes. Please start by stating your name and address. You may want to reserve some time, balance of your time for rebuttal. You don't have to use the entire 10 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay. My name is Greg Wynn. I am a third-generational builder here in the city of Atlanta in South Fulton. I purchased this property about 3 years ago and went through the rezoning process to get the townhomes done. But our illustrious president puts a lot of tariffs on things, and now it's not feasible to build such size units when you do market studies. So I come before you today to request that I reduce the square footage of the units to go ahead and build the 92, 95, 96 townhomes, excuse me. We changed them a couple of times. The footprint will not change. The land usage will not change. It's just the square footage of the townhomes that will change.
Thank you. You said there are no speakers in opposition? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and now go to council for questions and comments, beginning, as is always our practice, with the district representative, Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you. Attorney McClendon, is it possible to waive the first read and go ahead and vote on this today, or do we have to go through the first read and wait to vote to the next council meeting?
This is a modification, and modifications don't have 2 reads. The first, I don't believe we've actually created that resolution yet, so I don't know if we can get it on for tonight. But we can, if the clerk will allow that, we can put one together.
Okay, so I can add this on, because I just don't want him to have to come back or prolong this, because as he stated, he's not changing the footprint. And this is what I was explaining to you, Ms. Subadan, that we're gonna have probably a lot of occurrences like this. due to the tariff war. Most of our building material are coming from Canada, and a lot of projects have come before this council and been approved. But because of the tariff war, the cost of some of the projects are going to increase because of the building material, which is going to change possibly the feasibility of some of the development projects. Our ordinance, our current code does not allow the city to do a city-initiated modification. And so that's one of the things I talked with Ms. Davis and also, no, I talked to Mr. McClendon and the senior planner about, and I think they talked to you, and you looked in the code and it does not allow for a city-initiated modification. Am I correct? Yeah, I was supposed to follow up on that. Because that's the reason why he filed it, because we do city-initiated rezoning, but not city-initiated modifications.
No, I think we looked at this and this one is actually a city-initiated modification.
Oh,
So
it is a city-initiated modification. Okay, all right. So I'm going to request, if possible, that we add it on to the next agenda regular meeting so we can go ahead and vote on this tonight. So you won't have to come back, Mr. Nguyen.
I would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, seeing and hearing no further questions, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Brings us to letter D, KZ 25-010, U 25-003, and CDP 25-005. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from AG1 to C1 zoning and a special use permit to allow for a temporary shelter. The applicant is seeking to amend the future land use designation from suburban neighborhood land use to regional live work. This property is located in Council District 5. Staff recommendation, approval conditional. Planning Commission recommendation, denial.
All right. Attorney McClendon, if you wouldn't mind, could you just elucidate the difference of opinion between the staff and the Planning Commission?
I can certainly make an attempt to do so. I will start by saying that what we have begun doing is appending the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting to your staff reports to hopefully shed some light on why the Planning Commission makes their decisions, in addition to sending you all making sure that you all have access to the videos of those meetings and the staff reports. But I think for this one in particular, as I read through the minutes, it did appear that there was some public opposition specifically to the change of the land use code, of the land use.
And I'm sorry, if you would hold 1 second. We're on item D. Yes, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Go ahead.
Yeah. So specifically in regard to the request to change the land use, based on the fact that we are going through our comprehensive planning process currently.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and open up this public hearing. Is the applicant available, Mr. Clerk, and are there any speakers for or against?
Yes, sir. It appears we have 2 comment cards in support and 3 in opposition.
All right, you can come forth. You are going to start by stating your name and address. Each of you, you may want to reserve some of the balance of your time for people behind you and for rebuttal. This 10 minutes will include your rebuttal after you've heard from those in opposition. Your time starts now.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Jim Hamilton. To the City Council, I'm representing Wellspring. I'm here to tell you that something really is exciting is happening on Roosevelt Highway and has been occurring there for over 12 years. It's called Wellspring. Wellspring Living has been in business for over 24 years throughout Atlanta and has been in this particular address for over 12 years. Wellspring on this particular site had 6 acres that they acquired back in 2009 and continued operating as they have today, doing something super special, and that's helping people that have found themselves in the human trafficking arena. There's some fabulous success stories that have come out of this particular location. And what I'm here to tell you is that the original zoning, which was originally in Fulton County, provided AG1 zoning plus a special use permit for temporary housing and allowed this particular project to continue on doing what they do every day to help people in this horrible situation they've been in through therapy, through counseling, through life skills, and getting back on their feet and getting back into the mainstream of life. This zoning that was approved in Fulton County was adopted by this council last year. AG1 zoning was a special use permit to allow them to do what they're doing. We're not asking to do anything different, but what we're asking for is to change the zoning appropriately from AG1 to C1 with a special use to allow, as we already have it right now, transitional housing, because that's part of the formula. We bring these people in, we counsel them, we help them get back through transitional housing. So the idea is to get this new zoning in place with a special use permit. And the last part of this formula is we are entitled to do what we're doing up to 60,000 square feet. And we're right now, the special thing that's happening on this property is we built the cornerstone building. We're in for a permit for the youth residential building. This site is under construction and it's a very exciting thing for the city of South Fulton. The land use change we're requesting will allow us to increase on our larger footprint. We went from 6.7 acres to now 10 acres to allow 40,000 more feet, which will help us collectively throughout Wellspring double our impact to the community throughout Atlanta and especially here in South Fulton. So this particular project is being supported by companies, by individuals that are supporting this effort, and we're making a difference every day. And I think your positive vote for this tonight will be something you're going to be very proud of for the city of South Fulton now and in the future. I'm a consultant, but I've also got the CEO of Wellspring living here tonight in case you have any questions of either of us. I'll leave it at that, but thank you for your consideration. And again, this is a very exciting thing for the city, and I'm very, very proud, as you should be, of what they're doing for our community. So thank you.
All right.
Any questions?
We'll do that part next.
Okay, all right.
Is there another speaker in support behind you? Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Murphy. I'm the CEO of Wellspring Living, and I've been serving at this organization since August of 2022. As Jim said, we are embarking upon, I think, a monumental moment in our history to continue to serve women and children in need of special services. We have served more than 2,500 people over the course of our history, and just last year alone have increased our services to more than 220 individuals. As we think about this issue, the issue of sex trafficking is a pervasive one. Fulton County residents are actually the #1 county of the people that we serve, including for children. What Jim didn't say is that we are opening Georgia's first long-term residential program for youth of all genders. We opened Georgia's first crisis center in Paulding County back in 2020. We continue to operate that today. And the girls' residential program has been on this site for more than a decade. The work that we do is critical. The expansion of services is needed, and will also maintain as a private facility that will continue to honor the dignity of those that we serve, as well as our neighbors, and our community. And I think the only thing I would add outside of what Jim said is that we're talking about transforming lives. You can't do that with just having a home. You have to have critical resources, including therapeutic care, educational resources, workforce development. And that's the work that we've done for 20 plus years, and we will continue to do with this expansion of services.
All right. Would you call, there's 4 minutes and 54 seconds left for rebuttal. Mr. Clerk, would you please reset the clock and call those speakers in opposition?
Sorry. We have 3 speakers, Mr. Michael Venable, Alvin Reynolds, and Glenda Collins. So please come in that order.
Michael Venable. It's Michael Venable, 5720 Montelli Circle. Let me take a moment to make sure we understand why we're here. This is a zoning issue. Now, people always talk about speakers coming up and being emotional and talking things from the heart. This is from the head. There is no justification whatsoever for a land use change. If you look at all of your, quote, our training or whatever, when you have a facility and they're looking for modification, well, yeah, I need a variance because I got a power line, so I need to move over. I've got a hill and rocks and a stream, so I can't do that, so I'm getting a special thing to do it. There is no justification to give a land use change for this property. Now, we were just here, couldn't have been but a couple of months ago, Roosevelt Highway, that we just deliberately decided, okay, I'm going to change this area to industrial. Now, what we've seen here is just a complete hodgepodge. We need to have some conviction. The land use plan and the area setup is what it is. You can't allow every single entity or applicant to find a place and say, okay, I need to adjust this to fit what I want to do. We had on our last hearing case, the developer came in and says, well, you know, you all need to change your plan to make this thing fit so we can have it. Who's in charge? You know, I kind of relate this to the previous discussion about P cards and money. They're policy sets. If you didn't have a justification within the realms of that to make a change, why are you making the change? I don't want everybody to get caught up in the tear jerking and the emotion and say, well, you know, this is a good thing, we're helping people or whatever in there. This is a plan that is already set. We're trying to do a new one. If we can't follow the current one, why are we spending all the money doing a land use plan setup? This is a zoning case. Until you can justify in yourself what is the extenuating circumstance that this should be changed from the land use plan, it shouldn't happen. They can continue to do what they're doing. It just limits the area of the amount of housing that is there. Just because somebody may say, okay, you know, I want to put a high dollar subdivision right next door. It's an industrial zoned area. It doesn't fit. You can't just go pass out all kind of zoning to anybody who wants it without a justification. Like I said, I think this is improper to approve a land use modification change for this case because there's no justification for it.
Excuse me, Alvin Reynolds, 585 Kings Place, Riverdale, Georgia, 30296, District 7. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again. We find yourself at a crossroads. We speak on this quite often about the land use plan. And you just heard statements as to why. Even in the planning and zoning meeting, that was an issue because of the land use plan and the way it's being changed consistently. We come before you often speaking on these changes. It seems as though you change the land use plan to fit development. Quite often. Something really has to be done. We're going through a land use rewrite, and consistently we are changing or voting to change the land use plan for development. You guys, your house, you're at a crossroads here. There's something you got to do about this. Because if we continue down this road, anybody can come in and come up here and say, again, I need this land use change. And they're expecting to get it. So we're gonna have to make a decision on which way we're gonna go with this. And that's really where it lies with me on this particular case here, is how are we gonna handle consistently asking for a change of a land use plan, and as we go through a land use rewrite. Thank you.
Glenda Collins, 3740 Morning Creek Drive. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I too am confused regarding the fact that a few months ago you rezoned it light industrial, and now we want to make it residential so that it will accommodate this project. I am really not against the project, but as I stated to the representatives that I met about a month or so ago, I am concerned about the safety of the parent and the children crossing a busy street with traffic moving at 55 miles an hour. Now, I was told that they walk to Welcome All and catch the bus, but that's really hard for me to believe that a parent and a child would walk to Welcome All just to catch the bus when it's at least a half a mile away. If the weather's bad, if it's cold, storming, is that really going to happen? Don't you really think that those people are going to take a chance and run across the road with the traffic driving 55 miles an hour? And also, there is a turning lane, and people are trying to get in that turning lane to take spur 14. It's a serious issue, and it's a safety issue. Thank you.
All right, I believe you have 4 minutes and 54 seconds to respond.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the comments from the three who came up here. The response I'd give to you on this regarding the land use change. This property was zoned in Fulton County. There was no land use related to this at that particular time. It was a zoning, AG1, and a special use permit to permit this use, and we've been operating that way for over 12 years. This may be a unique example where it's appropriate to make that land use change. I'd leave it up to your wisdom to make that call, but I would propose to you can consider that. Regarding the safety of our residents getting to the bus, I can assure you that it is in the interest of Wellspring that we're going to know our people that come to us, our clients, our people that we work with there. We're going to make sure they can get safe access. And we'll determine who needs to cross the road, and we'll consider that as well. Last thing I'd like to say is, consider this: when we bought the property in the beginning, it was 6 acres. It is now 10 acres. We expanded that property so we could create a campus that would help us do what we're doing and help us double our efforts in regarding taking care of people in this predicament they're in. Any time left? Okay. Good. Thank you.
Christian Murphy, and what I would add is that not every participant uses MARTA. We have been on the site for 12 years. We do have transportation services available for our participants. We have vans, we have vehicles, and we do our best to accommodate their every need and request as possible. This is independent housing in many different ways, and of course, we are not wanting anyone to be dependent on our services. So we do guide them through an orientation about the property, what is around us that is important to us, just like it is for everyone else. The women and children that we serve, obviously, of course, deserve dignity, and we don't make all of the decisions for our participants in transitional housing, but for the youth that we serve. That is the highest number of the people that we serve on that property, and they do not go transported alone. They are not going on MARTA. They are going with staff in vehicles because, as you can imagine, youth are also sometimes inclined to want to run away. So we do everything that we can, of course, using our gates and our fencing and our perimeter work to make sure that they stay safe on site, but also we transport them safely from place to place.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clerk, please sound I'm sorry, we now need to have, I'm going to open the floor for discussion, questions, and comments from our council, beginning, as is always our practice, with the district representative, which is actually the District 3 representative, Councilwoman Willis. So, Mr. Clerk, if you will just make that notation, and the rest of you, if you're following along, this case Z25-010 is actually in Council District 3. Councilwoman Willis.
I know the boundaries get confusing because of the redistricting we went through in January, but this is actually in District 3. We actually held a public information meeting at Siloam Church, and absolutely not one resident showed up in opposition. And that was the second meeting we held. The first meeting was held in a location in College Park, and as a result of it being held in a location that was not in our city, Mrs. Murphy graciously decided to hold a second meeting to accommodate residents. Let me say this. This service has been in our community for 10 years, and this is one of my mantras. I have started a human sex trafficking ambassador program. We have over 100 human sex trafficking ambassadors. We kind of got derailed a little bit because of the onset of COVID, but it's an indecent, immoral crime, and there are several victims that are being serviced at this business, and I am just regretful that, and we have to talk with our state legislators, that they had to come before us in such a public way, because that campus and all campuses, they try to keep it private and inconspicuous housing communities because of the victims that are serviced and housed there. This particular campus, I am glad that you all chose South Fulton because you're going to be able to help more people through their circumstances and provide housing as they transition out of their circumstances and help them acclimate back into the common society. The residents were referred to as those people. Well, they're not those people. They're people like you, me, and everybody else that have been victimized with an indecent, immoral crime. And this was not just changed. They have been working towards expanding this campus for the past 4 years, and now we're here. And they have several nonprofits supporting them. We need more campuses. The demand outweighs the need. And so, while I respect everyone's opinion, everyone is entitled to their opinion, I have not received one email from any resident that voted for me to sit in this seat. I have not received one opposition from any resident that elected me to sit in this seat. Not one resident showed up to the public information meeting from District 3. So I'm looking forward to voting on this when it's time to vote, which is the next council meeting. And thank you for serving the vulnerable. Thank you for providing this service. And thank you for choosing South Fulton. Have a great day.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound, oh, I'm sorry, there are more. Dr. Rao.
Just a quick question, and this is a staff question in relationship to this. So I understand the special use permit, request. Is it that, is the future land use required for that? Because they have been operating here for 12 years, I think I heard them say.
Thank you. My recollection is that the future land use is required based on the density.
The density
That's
of the future growth.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
That brings us to letter E, case Z 25-006. Applicant is requesting rezone from the A District, Apartment District, on the Old National Highway Overlay District to the TR zoning district for the purpose of constructing 50 townhomes on 8.53 acres of land. This property is located in Council District 6. Staff recommendation is denial. Planning Commission recommendation is denial. And I believe, Mr. Mayor and Council, that the applicant may wish to offer a deferment.
Is the applicant present? Please come forward. Would you like to request a deferral?
I would actually. Received an email last night that part of our deferment was on the recommendation of Councilwoman Brown, as well as based on the suggestion of Mr. Sebastian, which is since so much had changed, that we reassess the staff report. I did receive an email from Karen Tomini last night, said she just basically ran out of time and she was not going to be able to provide that updated staff report to approval for tonight. But that was something I would like to provide for you guys before I present it to you. Due to time tonight and also not having that, I'd like to request a deferment.
Madam Attorney, what is your advice here?
I mean, it's up to the council. It was advertised for a public hearing, but if the council would like to grant his request to defer it, unless the CDRA has a different position.
The CDRA, do you have a different position, Mr.? All right, well, the chair will entertain a motion for deferral.
Mr. McClendon. It's the end of July, August. When is our meeting in September?
The first meeting is the 9th, and then the second is the 23rd. Of September?
Yes, September. Can we defer this until the September 9th meeting? With the understanding that this will be the second deferral of this, and so if we can't get this right by September, we need to withdraw it.
I'm in agreement with that.
All right, there's been a motion to defer this to September 9th. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Let's take this vote by show of hands.
Court, the motion approved unanimously. This item is deferred to the September 9th.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Public hearing.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, we had two items we added when you weren't in here.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Oh, please sound the next item.
So the next item is item Z 25-020, located at 6200 and 7000 Coweta Road. Applicant is requesting rezone from R2A in the Cliftondale Overlay District and AG1 to CUP for the purpose of constructing 293 single-family detached homes on 130.19 acres of land. It's located in Council District 4. Staff recommendation is approval conditional. Planning Commission recommendation is approval conditional.
Just by way of a quick explanation, I'll say that this was deferred from your May 27th public hearing, which feels like a very long time ago, and I think that's how it ended up being inadvertently left off of this meeting's agenda, but it was advertised for today.
All right, are there any speakers in support or opposition?
Yes, sir. We do have the applicant, Mr. Josh Mahoney, is here in support, as well as Mr. Stephen Figueroa, and also one person in opposition, Mr. Alvin Reynolds.
All right, I think you know how this goes. Your time starts now. Please start by stating your address.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Josh Mahoney, attorney at Battle Law PC 3562, Havisham, North Lake, and Tucker, Georgia, on behalf of the applicant. I'll be brief this evening. We've been here a long time. I really just want to go over the highlights. Mr. Clerk, did you get the presentation I sent over? Okay, no problem. Mayor and Council, this property is located off of Coweta Road. It also fronts on Dotson Road. Because it's pretty large, it's able to span the width of those two roads. The zoning map would show that it is currently zoned both AG1 and R2A, but looking at the zoning map, you'd also see that this property is surrounded on all sides by property that's zoned CUP. And so we're requesting CUP zoning, and in so doing, not introducing a new zoning district to the area, but instead kind of bringing this property in line with an established pattern that's been going on out there in the area. The site plan does show 293 units, and it's kind of split in two, with the majority of the units would come out onto Coweta, and then the remainder would come out onto Dotson. We do have some great amenities planned for this development. The centralized amenities include a pickleball court, a pool, an open-air pavilion with restrooms, and a fire pit, as well as a trail network that traverses the entirety of the property that serves to connect both halves of this project, as well as serves to connect folks who want to go to the amenity space, connect them by way of the sidewalks through the trail network to the amenities. The trail network also travels along the green space, so it helps to connect the various pocket parks and green spaces throughout the property to folks, so they'll be able to walk out their front door, get on a sidewalk, find their way to the trail, and by way of the trail, make their way to parks, the pool, any of the amenities. So generally speaking, the smallest lot in this project will be about 9,000 square feet. However, about 60% or more of those lots are going to be exceeding 12,000 square feet. So we've got some pretty decent sized lots here. Home sizes will range anywhere from 1,800 to 2,500 square feet. And given today's market, we're projecting that homes will start somewhere around $400,000 and go up from there. But with that, I will hand it off and take any questions.
All right, and are there any speakers in opposition, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, one, Mr. Alvin Reynolds.
Again, Alvin Reynolds, 585 Kings Place, Riverdale, Georgia, 30296. Mr. Clerk, I believe that there was a mistake in filling that card out. It should have been a previous case that I did not hear my name called. But, yeah, I think that's a mistake there.
Yeah, my apologies. So there were no speakers in opposition.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and, well, there's no speakers in opposition, so there's no rebuttal. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and go to questions and comments, beginning, as is always our practice, with the district representative, Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been a long project. I believe when I came here, it was actually in the works already. I know there was some questions about the buffer along Coweta Road. Did we work all that out?
So I can tell you the buffer along Coweta Road is compliant with the Clifton Dale overlay. Was there a specific question you had?
What is it, what is it?
50 feet.
50? Okay. All right, I know there was that question. That was the only thing that I had with this project at the time. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further questions, please sound the next item.
Last item on tonight's agenda is case Z25-001, U25-002. It's application requesting rezoning from MIX in the Fulton Industrial Business Overlay District to C2 zoning with a special use permit to allow for a self-storage multi-facility on site. It's located in District 1. Staff recommendations approval. Planning Commission recommendations approval conditional.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This might be the last time I rise before you all tonight, so I believe that, so I do want to say, in a moment of personal privilege, if I will, Thomas Sampson was certainly a giant in the legal community. He's showing on your proclamation list tonight, but I don't know if he's going to have a full presentation, but I certainly do want to wish his family my condolences. Mr. Clerk, this case is requesting a deferral to August the 26th.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion for deferral to August 26th.
I move to defer this case Z25-001 U25-002 to August 26, 2025.
It's been properly motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, let's take this vote by show of hands.
Court, that motion approved unanimously, 7-0, deferred to August 26th.
All right, Mr. Clerk, that was the final item?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been properly moved and seconded. Let's take this vote by show of hands.
Court, that motion approved unanimously. We adjourned at 8:29 p.m.
All right, before I call to order our last meeting of the night, do people need 5 more minutes? Just show of hands, who needs 5 minutes? Okay, if I'm going to ask, we're going to go ahead and reconvene at 8:36.